Hello and welcome back to the Cinema in Space, and I'm going to be doing two movie reviews for you today because I just finished watching one and I can't talk about the one without the other, and it is the Crazies, both the original and remake. Now, you have to realize, I just finished watching this movie. First time I ever watched it. I've been sleeping on it for a while because, I was just like, I can't believe they remade the Crazies, but then when I watched it, I was like, oh wow, they remade the Crazies. It's really cool. And all my friends were like, oh, I can't believe you didn't want to see this movie, when they saw it, because they saw it at my friend's house the one night. And he's like, it's a good movie, but I fell asleep during watching it because I really didn't want to watch it. So I didn't get any of it. All I saw was the beginning when he shoots the guy with the shotgun. And other than that, I didn't see any of this movie until 3 years later. And that was because the reason I didn't want to see that movie was because I am a really big fan of the original film, The Crazies. And I just couldn't believe they remade another Romero film. But I've become more open-minded to movie remakes recently. Some of them I still think are stupid, like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake was horrible, and the Friday the 13th remake was horrible as well. Those shouldn't exist, those are terrible movies, but I'm not here to talk about those. I'm here to talk about the Crazies, the original and remakes. Now, the original Crazies is a classic for its time. One thing that misled me is that on the back it says almost unlimited blood and gore, and there is blood, but there's not a lot of blood and gore throughout the movie, and I did watch from beginning to end, and there's not that much blood and gore. Maybe this was a review for Dawn of the Dead and they accidentally put it on the wrong DVD, and they said it's his little scene masterpiece of modern horror, and it is a good movie. It's a really well done film, and the plot of the movie, the plot of both movies, is that there's a virus that gets spread around the town that's known as Trixie, and everyone just goes absolutely insane when they use it, when they get infected with it. They don't turn into zombies, they just become the rage monsters from 28 Days Later. And in the remake, it's the same plot. Now, what I like about the two movies is that they're the same plot, but different, but they're done differently, and this is how remakes should be done. In the Crazies remake, like I said, it's the same plot, but it's done differently, sort of like the Dawn of the Dead remake, where you get the same premise, same idea, same almost everything, but they do it differently, and this is how you do it, people. You don't just remake a movie just for remaking movie's sake, even though I still did like Carrie. But what they did here is that they reimagined the idea, and they did it really well. Now, the original, I'm not going to do too much of a review for it because I really want to talk about this one because it's still fresh in my mind. It's a good movie. You definitely need to check it out if you ever get the chance. I believe they re-released it on DVD with a bit of a less interesting cover. This cover is really goofy and I like it because of that. And the other one just kind of looks like, a stock, epidemic film movie cover. However, on this movie, I'm going to talk about this. The acting in this one is much better. Way more talent was put into this, and that's not too much knocking the original film because the time period, we were still just trying to figure things out. So this one being better is not too much of a big deal. The characters in this movie, they're all really cool. The lead character, he's just your generic lead character. Then he has his best buddy, Sheriff Thornton, and his pregnant wife Judy. They're on the run from the military because the military is trying to keep this disease contained. And that's one thing that they did change about this movie is, in the original, it was more about the military hunting people down and stuff like that. At least that's what I got from it. In this one, they're trying to avoid the Crazies more and the military, but the Crazies seems more like a threat in this, as opposed to the original one where the Crazies are kind of like the background threat. But I could just be totally wrong about that. That's just how I see it personally. And he also has his buddy, I believe his name is Rick. I'm never good with names when I first see movies. You have to forgive me on that. And he's awesome. He's probably the coolest character in the movie. He's my favorite character. He saves the lead character. He saves Dunton way too much than what it's worth. Not really, but he saves the lead character a few times. You can tell they're buddies. And one thing that is massively different about this movie as opposed to this one is This movie, they're both, yeah, this one, though, is way more depressing than this one. This one comes off as a bit more colorful. That's because a lot more scenes in this one take place during the daytime. This one, though, this mainly takes place at night, so you get more of a darker, more depressing feeling. And what I like about this movie is it really draws on suspense, and there's not a lot of blood and gore in this one either. I mean, there is blood, there is some gore here and there, but it doesn't rely on that. There's a lot of few genuinely suspenseful moments that a lot of movies just don't have, and that's why I like this remake so much. And I was just like, huh, yeah, that's really cool. I'm really like tensed up right now. Some of it does come off as generic, but it is well done nonetheless. And it does come off as a bit more disturbing than the first one. There's this one scene in particular that takes place at a gas station when they're outside and the lady's crying, and then you see why she's crying. That was like, oh my goodness, that actually freaked me out a little bit. I was like, oh my lord, that's depressing, that's disturbing, that's everything, that's brilliant. Like, I was just, it kind of like blew my mind that actually genuinely managed to like get me to like, give me a little bit of goosebumps. In the original, it does have a few like chilling scenes, but the remake has more of it. The original is more fun. This is not the type of movie you want to watch on a Sunday afternoon with your family and be happy and stuff like that. No, this is a way more depressing film, which works in its favor. It doesn't have a lot of humor, and there's also this one scene at the car wash, when they're at a car wash, that's also very depressing. And I know this all sounds really weird, but when you see the movie, you'll understand. I was like, wow, they did that. And there's a few characters that are just there to die. I mean, every horror movie has that, so you can't really flack it for that. There's also, there's that one, random military character who's like a good guy, but other than the one scene that they don't really like follow up on it too much. And I wish he would have been in it more, but like I said, like I guess they can't really overflow the characters, or maybe it probably would have gotten too ridiculous if they would have incorporated him into it too. He says, I wasn't hired to shoot innocent people, so you feel for him a bit more. It is really well done. The ending I don't like. I didn't like the ending for the original one either. It's an open ending, and I don't think this is going to get a sequel. I think it did fairly well at the box office. It only cost $20 million to make it, and it made back like $50 million, which is a success because it made its money back and more. What else can I say about this movie? In the original movie, they imply that they are actually trying to find a cure for Trixie. In the remake, at no point do they focus on the scientists who are trying to find a cure for this disease. In both movies, Trixie is a chemical weapon. So that's nothing different there. It's both a military chemical weapon, but in the remake, they don't focus on the science of it at all. In the original, they did focus on it more, which I do like a little bit more about the original. But the remake is a much more well-made film. It is darker, it is more depressing. I would like to show this to friends, but it is like nothing I could watch over and over and over again. It does have rewatch value, but it is a little too depressing to watch way too often. And life's too depressing as it is. I'm kidding, but definitely check it out if you haven't seen it before. I liked it a lot. I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. If it did have a little more into the science and maybe have a few more jokes in there, maybe I would have given it a full 5. But as it stands, it is a great horror film, and I definitely recommend checking it out. It's one of the few remakes that works, and one that I can fully say gets my full appreciation, and I can sincerely say, I am sorry I haven't seen it before. Anyways, that is my review for The Crazies, both 1973 and 2010. The Crazies, the original, also gets a 4.5. It is entertaining. Anyways, thanks for watching. Take care.